We are standing up. We will be the light.
Music is so important to our sense of humanity and sense of self, I think, because it offers all of us a gateway into our feelings, into our experiences. This song and the subsequent video project has been in my life for almost 4 years now. Back in 2016, it was that sort of 10-day period where we lost Philando Castile and Alton Sterling, and it was so overwhelming to myself and to so many friends and family around me. I just remember being in my apartment and not leaving for a couple of days. I felt like I couldn't face the world, and I felt like I needed to do something. So I started on the guitar and started just kind of playing this sort of like rhythmic riff, and it felt like an opportunity to create just like a bigger project and bring more people in, and it grew into the release of this video and single. I worked with incredible director Tyler Newhouse, who's in charge of all of the visuals in the video, my friend Julia Madison, who did the performance direction, Tom Gardner, who mixed everything on this track. He started bringing more people in. Then COVID happened, and then George Floyd, and then Breonna Taylor, and then Tony McDade, and this uprising happened. In 2020, I think fighting these two pandemics, right? The actual like COVID-19 and the pandemic of racism that has, sort of wreaked havoc in this country, gave us a really great opportunity to highlight two incredible organizations, Campaign Zero and the Movement for Black Lives. So all of the proceeds that have gone to those two organizations. This was the time to do it because people are listening and are ready to take action. So the cool thing about this is I actually tracked the program drums on the Korg SV1. Like in Logic, I got to the Caverns drum kit, which is a great sounding drum kit. Then I called a very good friend named John Clancy, and I said, hey, I'm working on this project. It's for Black Lives Matter. Are you willing to lay down some acoustic drums to that, to just sort of round out the mix? So now when you think about putting those two together, there's just a textured element that's super, super nice. Fuller, rounder, deeper. I used a lot of plugins from Logic for this. This is, I think it's a Moog sample named Siren in Logic, which is like, it's got this kind of throaty sound. So let's listen to that. Just so. It just is kind of a nice texture to have. So I used a different synth in that Logic pack under the name Underwater Synth, and that's an octave down, I believe, from where we were. Let's hear it. And it's just like another textural pad thing. So if we bring those in together, and I love that sound too because it sounds like multiple synths happening at once. There's like a harmonic thing almost. I like stacking octaves always because it gives you options, even if you don't end up using them. So the second verse, I layered in an organ sound from the Korg SV1. I went up the octave, did another sort of thing to just fill out the voicing here. So if we just listen to just the synths here. All of the low end is coming from the synth world, which is like super, super fun to do. The next thing to look at, I think, from an arrangement perspective would be guitars. And guitars in this track mostly are textural. These are 3 different guitars stacked. It is an SG, a 64 Harmony Rocket, and a Fender Strat. So let me give you some context with the keys now if we bring those in. So the next thing, I call them the what-ohs. They're through the whole track, and they function really as another sort of rhythmic component and a sonic component as well. Let's just listen to them. It gives us this energy, and it's that kind of thing where when the song is over, you still remember what-oh, what-oh. So if we're just soloing the lead, we get this.
Look at the world that we live in. Look at the trouble and pain. Look how all is forgiven when we lose so many in vain.
I did these lead vocals with Tom at his studio, Riff Studios in New York. And I love the way that Tom and I decided to do these vocals. I like things that feel really close. If you track vocals closely, you can put anything in a bigger room, but it's harder to track a vocal in a bigger space and to make it sort of more intimate, right? So finding that middle ground that Tom is so great at, of having something that feels up close but still can feel full. 85 to 90% of what you're hearing vocal-wise, instrumentation-wise, I am either singing or playing. There's a choir at the end, Crystal Monet Hall, who does a sort of ad-lib outro at the end, and then another singing friend, Melanie Niyama, she did another stack in that same octave.
We are standing up, we will be the light.
Just completely different voice, right? And then she also did a lower stack, because she's got that range as well.
We are standing up, we will be the light.
So then when you put those all together, again, it's like there's just all of a sudden all this dimension.
We are standing up, we will be the light. We all deserve the right to freedom.
I love unison stacks so much. So one more thing I wanted to point out in the vocals that always, a question that always comes up. It's right here at this break at the very end. So right there, we all deserve to be free. And there's a chord happening underneath my lead. So in the room, I asked Tom to cycle record just that bar or whatever. And I started stacking like an angelic chorus around it almost for that moment. So if we just listen to just that stack of vocals that happen underneath it, it's this. So in context of the whole track, it was just me sitting and going, free, 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 like trying to every single note I could pull out so then we could have these two together.
I deserve to be free.
It's probably like one of my favorite parts of the whole track, honestly. I love that little moment. So one of the most important things I think to talk about would absolutely be the choir that happens at the end of the song. It's a group of singers I know from New York, all from different places. I'm just gonna solo the first choir part.
We are beautiful. We are beautiful. We are beautiful. We are beautiful.
And then we added the guys. Let's listen to that.
We are beautiful. We are beautiful. We are beautiful. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
And then we get that big, we all deserve to be free. And then we've got their outro.
Let this be the night, young, old, black, and white. Oh.
I cannot do this without pointing out this incredible ad-lib from my dear friend, Crystal Monet Hall. I said at the end, I've been singing this whole song. I don't want to hear any more of myself. And she did so many incredible things, but these are the things that we grabbed.
For freedom. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Just incredible. Again, in the beginning, when I was just sort of doing a demo of everything, I was sort of doing everything sort of rough and dirty. And I think the main thing I want to say about this guitar solo is I retract everything else. I did everything else through the vibroverb with a couple of effects, a Keeley electronics, magnetic echo delay with like a Monterey pedal, and then a Minitone Thundering Revival, which is one of my favorite distortions. So we did all that stuff for all the other guitar stuff. But then when it came back to the solo, and this was tracked direct in to the UA Twin with, I believe it's like the Live Room Stack amp modeler. I had the Minitone Revival and the Magnetic Echo going, but it's that and Tom Gardner's amazing mixing is this guitar solo. Let's just hear a little bit of this. I'm gonna give some more context with everything else, bringing it in. I would hope people would be inspired by my need to speak to the times with the music that I write. It feels like a duty for me as an artist, and I answer the call gladly.